Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator, and I'm here doing a collab with Grayson. We've not done one in a while, but I think that the time was called for because there was some pretty crazy stuff that happened at DebateCon. I guess it was like 4 days ago, and you were actually there, Grayson, right?
Yep. Good to be back, AJ. Yeah, excited to talk about it. Yes, I was at DebateCon for this now infamous Matt Dillahunty, Andrew Wilson debate. So it was a total train wreck. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, so we're just gonna we're gonna watch the opening of BigPoppaFacist, which it's like that's a really interesting username. It's like you're just, I guess,
Yeah.
owning it. That you.
Well, I want to make it clear that he was not owning it on the weekend. He didn't. Nobody ever mentioned Big Papa Fascist. I didn't know who Andrew Wilson was. It was only after what we're about to witness that I went and started looking at who this Andrew Wilson guy was after the performance that he was about to give. And that's when I learned, oh, okay, he founded the Crucible, a Nazi debate platform, and then he calls himself Big Papa Fascist. So it's a self-designated nickname there. So pretty that tells you the caliber of the person who Andrew Wilson is.
Yeah, I don't I feel like it's some level of disrespect to Notorious B.I.G. I don't know if that's the reference, but it's like I mean, I feel like you haven't earned that title. Like you
He
probably
is
don't deserve it.
very, very far removed from Biggie. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he probably doesn't even like that type of music, or just I don't know.
It would
Maybe
be
it's
degenerate, I would assume.
yeah, right. It's like, and I assume this person is. I would probably just assume this guy is a racist. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
He's very.
okay.
Let's just say that he's very interested in white birth rates.
Oh yeah. Well, when people who are non-white get married and have babies, that is white genocide. It's actively killing white children somehow. I don't know. That's a thing. Okay.
Yeah. So this is our lovely specimen right here.
Yeah. I
This is
mean this.
truly what peak male performance looks like. So
Yeah. I mean
I
this.
thought so I just want to make it very clear to the audience. AJ, you have not actually watched this exchange yet, correct?
Yeah. I don't know shit. Like
Yeah.
I understand the context of what's going on, but I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, so I had recommended that we go ahead and Matt gave a really excellent intro. The topic for the debate was supposed to be secular humanism versus Christianity, what provides a better ethical foundation for society. That was what was supposed to be the debate topic. And Matt began with his opening statement where he made, a great argument for secular humanism. He laid out what it was. He talked about the current state of Christian nationalism with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He laid out a very well done opening statement. However, since the debate went the way it went, it wasn't really a relevant opening statement because, as we will see, Big Papa Fascist here didn't really have any interest in actually debating that topic, and his opening statement goes in a different direction, which we will see. So I thought, it's probably just more worth it to watch his opening statement and then take the debate from there.
Yeah, I feel like no matter who Matt was going to go up against, if the debate topic was going to be about him arguing for secular humanism, like he's going to give a good intro. He could probably write that in his sleep. And I
Yeah.
think if you've seen any of his debates, you probably know what he's going to say there. So, yeah.
I have seen other debates where Matt Dillahunty has been doing secular humanism as a topic, and his debate was very, very similar. The only new bits of information was when he was talking about current events with Mike Johnson. But other than that, it was pretty standard. The history of secular humanism, the various manifestos laying out what it entails, what its principles are. It was a good introduction to the topic, as always, from him. So.
Way too stodgy in this room. Very low energy. Just wanted to let
Yeah,
all
pause
of
it
you know
already.
that.
He literally, and over the weekend, right, I got to meet several debaters, including Aaron Ra, and Aaron made a really good comment to me that how you win a debate is you win the audience. And I thought that that was a great bit of strategy. And so Andrew over here, Big Papa Fascist, already out the gate before he's even started his statement, just insulting the audience, just saying that you all are very stodgy and low energy, and like everyone's like, "What the hell? Like, like what did we do? We're just watching the debate." So
Yeah.
he literally just out the gate just insults the entire audience as his strategy.
That it is kind of funny though, because technically his cameraman is currently sitting in the audience, so
Yeah.
that means that he was contributing to the level of or lack of energy and
Yeah.
such.
Oh, and we will be addressing the cameraman in the audience. Don't worry. I talked with both of these people after the debate and the next day, so I'll be going through the stories of what those interactions were like.
Ladies and gentlemen of all pronouns, the Z's, the Zers, the hims, and hers, I would like to thank you for tuning in today for this exciting in-person conference.
Yeah. Again,
on
you got to
modern day
pause it.
debate. My name is Andrew Wilson.
We're gonna be pausing it a bit, but you see already he's already saying the Z's, the Zims, the Zers, like he's already making a jab at pronouns, like in the first 10 seconds.
Well, I mean, we all know that ever since the sort of list of pronouns that came out of Tumblr got really memed on in like 2015 or 2016. There are so many public trans figures who use the pronouns of Z and Zer. I mean, there are lots of people that I could think of that use them. It's almost it's not like that was just a thing where it was on the internet and nobody actually ever used those. It just became a right-wing talking point and like insult that doesn't actually exist or get used by people. I mean, I'm not saying that nobody uses these pronouns, and there are some people who use them like neo pronouns, but
Yeah.
Saying I don't think anybody in the audience is going by Z and Zer, basically, which is who he's addressing.
The only reason that he's bringing it up is to make people angry, including Matt. I mean, for those that don't know, like Matt has a partner who's a trans woman, so he's trying to get under Matt's skin. He's trying to get an emotional response from the people in the crowd. He did a stream in the days after this in which he said basically that he enjoys pissing people off. He enjoys getting an emotional response out of people. Like he's basically just a troll. He knows it. He's a super villain. Like he wants to be a villain. He wants people to be against him so that he can fulfill his persecution complex. I mean, yeah.
Oh crap! Yeah, I have not seen this. This
I
guy's.
think you went way past the.
Yeah, I know. I skipped. I went way backwards, and now I'm just catching back up. I told Grayson that I suspect this person has like idol, and he idolizes the character of the Joker, even though he's probably completely misunderstands the character, and just this man thinks he's like some sort of supervillain agent of chaos who's just like fighting the good fight against degeneracy and all this shit. I don't know.
Well, like literally, I mean, when he did that stream about the reviewing this, he was wearing a shirt that is like a Sith warrior from Star Wars with a red lightsaber, and he literally was laughing like a supervillain. Like he was like, "Let me tell you about this debate." Like he's literally doing this supervillain cackle laugh. Like he knows he is cartoonishly evil, and he plays it up for that effect exactly. So like he knows that he has like an evil bigoted position on this, and he enjoys the response that it gets out of like normal people capable of feeling empathy. Like he enjoys angering them.
Andrew Wilson. There's a few ways this debate can go. The topic is Christian ethics versus secular humanism. Which has a better foundation? The funny thing is, I already won that topic because, as Matt explained to Jay Dyer, he has no justification under the skeptical belief structure to give an accounting for any meta-ethical presupposition he may have. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic, he grants himself reason, he grants himself an entire worldview, even though he's using an unjustified starting position for it. So I'm not honestly all that interested in doing the God not real dough debate, because one, it's boring, and two, it's also really boring.
Okay, Bob.
It goes like this. I don't see enough.
I don't want to pause too much, but
okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say he's basically just doing the presup
Mm.
thing right there where he's saying like because logic rests upon axioms or like ethical systems would have to rest on some sort of axiomatic assumptions that like hey like maybe making people happy is good or just because you have to yeah okay well if you don't want to go into all of it we can just let it play out but it's not a very long clip that's why the pausing but we can keep going.
Yeah, it seems to me he's trying to make like this type of argument where, like you said, the precept thing, where you basically try to go all the way back to like a person's um, understanding of reality and their senses, and say, no, well, you can't, you can't substantiate that, and you can't like know that. And it's like, well, okay, well, yeah, when you get down to that level, yeah, there are things that we can't know, and we make assumptions about those things. After that, we can like actually know stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, but not without God. I don't know. I'm not very good at talking about the precept bullshit, but I've seen this type of thing before. There's there's a good video of a Thunderfoot versus Eric Hovind where this exact thing plays out, and Thunderfoot does a better job of explaining it than I could. But that's basically what I think is happening here.
Enough evidence and remain unconvinced there's a God, then I say, but you use a theistic worldview of justification like there is a God to grant yourself logic and everything else. So instead of that, I'm just going to grant Matt's entire worldview. 2/3 or more of this entire planet are all operating inside of a shared delusion that they were created by a sky daddy who loves him some slavery and murderousness. He thinks it's funny to kind of cosmically with people. That's his deal, kind of his whole thing. That's Matt's worldview. So now Matt's right, and the question becomes, should we let them to continue to believe in this nonsensical Stone Age madness, or do we stop them from engaging in it? My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. See, Matt also just acts as though the things he believes are true. He believes, and therefore acts as though logic is real, math is real. Everything is real based on his presuppositional belief that they are real. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie.
Okay, that was a lot to unpack. But saying human flourishing by whose metric, like humans, and like you said, just making people like not unhappy or miserable and dying or starving to death. We want people to flourish, as in people stay alive and are happy instead of being sad and dying. Like by that's the metric, basically.
Yeah, like he's trying to say like why should we care about human flourishing if there's no God? Like, and it's like, yeah, I mean, if you can't even get past that and agree that like human flourishing is generally good, I mean, it's he's trying to like, oh well, if you can't ground everything in an axiom that's not presupposed, then it's all meaningless, and we shouldn't even care about human flourishing and what's good for society. Like, I don't know, it's just more presuppositionist nonsense.
Yeah, and I also like him like implying that math and logic aren't real, like
because they rest on presupposed axioms. So that means that they can't be real, I guess, without a God.
right. Because if you have something that is just resting on a presupposed axiom, and then it has value and you can get use out of it, and it is functional and helps build society, it's like, well, yeah, but you should just throw that out because the thing at the beginning that's probably not even true. Okay, let's get to I want to get to the good part. Not the good part, but the interesting part.
To people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the flourishing?
Would like rewind it a little bit?
Yeah, like 5 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I want to get to the part where he talks about the trench stuff, and it's like instantly as soon as I press play. Okay, I think that's
or more of the planet of this entire planet are all operating inside of a shared delusion that they were created by a sky daddy who loves him some slavery and murderousness. He thinks it's funny to kind of cosmically with people. That's
You went
his
back a
deal,
lot more than
kind of
5
his whole
seconds.
thing.
Yeah, I know.
That's Matt's worldview. So now Matt's right, and the question becomes, should we let them to continue to believe in this nonsensical Stone Age madness, or do we stop them from engaging in it? My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. See, Matt also just acts as though the things he believes are true. He believes, and therefore acts as though logic is real, math is real. Everything is real based on his presuppositional belief that they are real. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false.
Okay, so right
Yeah.
off the bat, I just want to say that no one says these things and nobody believes this. Nobody thinks these things. This is a really irritating right-wing like talking point and basically just lie. Okay, so it's like really simple in my opinion. Like you have cis men and cis women, and you have somebody who is trans. So you have trans men and you have trans women. Nobody thinks that somebody who is a cis man can transition and become a cis woman. They would become trans because they transition. So nobody thinks that a cis man can have periods. Like that's not a thing. Nobody thinks that. But there are people who, like the what's the girl's name who goes around the college campuses and she like brought a gun to her graduation. I'm Caitlin Bennett. So she goes around. It's one of her videos where she goes around a college campus and says like, "Do you think the men's bathroom should have, tampons in it?" And like several of the people are just like, "Well, I mean, yeah, because they're trans men who still get their periods." It's just like really simple answer, and she's just like looks at the camera with like a goofy face, like The Office or something. Like, can you believe these people? It's like nobody thinks that like a cis man can have periods. This is just like a fucking lie.
Yeah, it's like a conflation of like different concepts. Like he when he says, "Oh, men can get pregnant" or whatever, like he's just conflating so many things to misconstrue like what's actually going on in the situation. Yeah, like you said, like he's conflating cis men, trans men, biology, like social factors. Like when you say men, we're not talking about like biologically male, like XY, like we're just talking about like people that are socially recognized as men. Like he's trying to conflate so many different things to make it seem like it's such this outlandish, like crazy thing that people are trying to push, this whole big lie that like 1+1=4, like in trying to make it seem so obviously false that he's just the only one that can see the truth and he's just trying to preach truth to power, and that's what he genuinely, I think, thinks that he is doing. But in reality, yeah, he's literally just being inflammatory, just trying to say stuff to get people triggered so that they can get mad at him, because he just wants to feel like everybody's mad at him and he's this truthful, like righteous warrior for Christianity. Like he's got a whole complex about it.
Yeah, I think that he and a lot of these other same types are just in love with this narrative that they're speaking truth in like a world of madness. Like
Yeah.
everyone thinks that a man can get pregnant and then that all this stuff, but it's like if you look at the most famous or well-known transgender people on like Twitter, YouTube, social media, like ContraPoints or like Buck Angel, Blair White, I know there's a couple other people I watch, like Sam Collins, and these people, they are actively like open about the fact that they're trans. They don't hide that fact. People who are trans usually, like, they are open about it to a certain extent. Like, now they want to like pass in their normal day-to-day life, and they're probably not going to tell strangers that, but with their people they're close with and their loved ones, friends and family, like, they're open about it a lot of times because they want to you know, tell people about their experience. And, you know, it's part of a sort of advocacy thing, or an activism thing. And it's not like they're pretending like they're actually not trans and like hiding their identities. And this conflation of like, it's similar to what Matt Walsh did with his movie, like, What is a Woman?
Yeah.
Like, it's this thing where they act like nobody uses the term trans and cis to differentiate these things. And that's what annoys me. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think there's just a fundamental confusion when people are saying like trans women are women. It's like, yes, like within the umbrella of women, there are cis women and trans women, and they're both women, but they want to say, oh, well, then you're trying to say that there's no difference between trans women and cis women, and that somehow you've changed chromosomes and you've changed biology and stuff. And it's like, no, none of that is entailed in the statement that trans women are women. It's like socially recognizing them in the same category as, like, you know, different types of women.
Yeah, so that one annoys me. All right, let's get into
that preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends.
Oh, I hate to pause it again.
And that Western society and egalitarianism
is ever going to go back and address what he just said. And like, just fundamentally, that is so wrong. Like, literally, like, homosexuality is prevalent throughout nature because it is good for populations. Like, it's good for social cohesiveness. Like, you have more members that are willing to look after offspring, help social bonding. Like, there literally are. I won't go on for 10 minutes because you just highlighted that comment, but like, literally, he's never going to address what he just said in the last 20 minutes is his entire opening, or the last 20 seconds rather, is his entire opening. He never goes any more specific than the 2 points that he just gave, that's saying homosexuality is not good for society because it doesn't encourage reproduction. Like, that is so beyond stupid and non-scientific when we just look at natural animal populations. Like, natural selection has encouraged populations with homosexuality because it does make for better, more cohesive societies.
Yeah, and you know, straight couples can have babies that turn out to be gay later in life, and you know what I mean? Like, this is such a ridiculous thing. Also, you know, as if our planet isn't already overpopulated anyway.
Yeah, well, he doesn't think that. He's a whole, like, he thinks that humans should continue to reproduce more and more and more, and he thinks that the Earth should sustain 35 billion people or something. Like, he doesn't believe that Earth is near its carrying capacity with humans or whatever, and he thinks that the population should just continue to skyrocket like a virus. Like, if you actually look at population dynamics in animals, it maintains around a certain equilibrium. It's just not perpetually growing like Andrew wants. Like, he thinks a good ethical system is one that encourages this nonstop growth rates in reproduction. It's like, no, that's not how this works in nature. That's not how any of this works. That's not good for the planet or humans.
Is superior to those evil theist society, even though the Western nations can't even reproduce their own populations, but instead have to replace their population with foreigners from those theist nations that can reproduce.
What?
Let's start with a basic societal question recently asked of the West, who has now embraced a scientific and non-theistic approach to governing. Super basic question every kindergartner knows. If you don't believe me, go watch Kindergarten Cop. The question posed to the Western nation is, can a man be a woman? All right? To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Thank you, secular humanists. Thank you so much. Nope, not kidding. Why, you ask, would people be this over the top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them. This is human flourishing. Just redefine shit, pretend it's true. How laughably absurd this worldview is. Matt will often say, I remain unconvinced. Well, Matt, I'm also going to use your standard. I need for you to 100% convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt that males can have babies. What's the answer going to be? No, Andrew, you big stupid. Males can't have babies. Men can have babies, because we just defined man to include females, dummy. Well, Matt, I remain unconvinced. I'd like Matt to convince me that if you are a male and you are having sex with another male, which would not be allowed in my version of a secular humanist worldview.
What? Like, what? Like, well, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Is he saying that he wouldn't allow lesbian sex because of are the definitions still changed in his weird dystopian like fantasy where
in his version, any homosexual relationships would be illegal. That's what he's saying.
Okay. So
in his version of secular humanism, by the way, because he thinks that apparently homosexuality is contrary to human flourishing for some reason, like about birth rates. That's the only logic he gave.
I'm sure that he
basically is just using words that he doesn't even understand their meaning. Like he's using male and man and woman and female, and he doesn't understand what any of these words are actually referring to beyond just colloquially how he uses them himself.
Yeah, it was just weird how he's like, we're going to change female to mean male, and then he's like,
yeah,
well, since Matt just changed the definition, I'm like, no, you did that.
Yeah, like, it's literally the dumbest thing ever. Literally, it's so beyond a straw man to think that we've changed the definition of male to mean woman. Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, this guy doesn't know anything.
The kind of the sort of funny thing, maybe it's not funny, but it's just kind of like one of those things where you have to laugh to avoid crying. It's like, it's not that society has just invented all these new terms and has just changed all these definitions, because transgender people have existed as long as people have existed. So have gay people and all of LGBT people. It's just that now the society as a whole, which includes like dumbass right-wing people like this, are finding out about terms like cis or trans and thinking, well, you know, it's not possible that this already existed and I was just ignorant of it. This must be some sort of new term that's been invented in order to target my children directly by some sort of government psychic program to, I don't know, have China take over the United States or something. I don't know. They have these crazy fucking conspiracy theories, but they're just, they can't accept the idea that they might have been just ignorant about a whole sector of society. It has to be that we've changed the definitions, and like, you can't change the definition of words. It's not like words. You can't change the meaning of words, right? Like, like, yeah, you can, but that's not what's happening here.
It's also useful to do so. Like, meaningfully useful to, like, anyone should be able to agree that there are biological criteria of maleness, and then there are non-biological aspects of it, like social aspects of maleness and masculinity. And it's useful to have two different words to describe them because it's more precise language. Like, we have sex and we have gender. And in the past, maybe those referred to the same thing, but it is more precise for those to have each refer to their own different criteria of maleness or whatever. So it's literally just more precise language, which refers to things that anyone should be able to agree exists. Like, there are biological and non-biological aspects of this, and it's useful to have terms that delineate that.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said, and also with you have sex and gender, but then also this whole misunderstanding about like, oh, they think there's 84 genders. Like Ken Hovind accused me of this the other day, saying that I was like, confused about 84 genders. I was like, do you mean that I'm confused about the fact that there are 84 genders, or that I'm confused and I think that? Because I don't think that. I think that there are 2 genders, but if you talk about gender expression, then you could say that there's a really like vast spectrum of that, because how many different ways are there for people to express their gender? Like, are there men who are more feminine than others, or are there men who are more masculine, and women who go either way? I mean, because I think that you could say that there are 2 genders, but when we're talking about expression, that's when things get even more granular. And it's like, these aren't terms that are just being invented by woke people. These are just the natural evolution of language. So we can describe the complexity of human sexuality better. But these people just want to dumb everything down and just, I'm not going to accept any of this. And it's just all a bunch of like, dangerous stuff that's killing society. Definitely.
How is it that you're not just basically having sex with a guy with a wig on? I really want to know the answer to that.
What's wrong with that?
That question, not just me, but all rational people who aren't lunatics.
At Matt.
Yeah, that it does seem like that was one.
Like that was him. He's talking about you and having sex with a guy with a wig on, knowing that Matt's partner is like a trans woman he's been trying to say is a man his entire opening statement so far. So it's really just becoming more and more personalized towards Matt, and farther away from the actual debate topic, which was supposed to be secular humanism versus Christianity, which he like literally just said, I'll throw away Christianity. In my secular humanism, it's illegal to be gay. Let's talk about that. Like, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, he's like circling in on, making this more and more personal.
Oh, it gets more and more. We'll see.
But nobody is forcing people to believe things, because I don't think that that's possible to force people to believe like you do. That's like not a thing unless you use religion. That works well for doing that and brainwashing people in cults. But I mean, I can't make somebody like less transphobic. And
this guy's not even worth.
I'm just laughing at this. I'm not surprised that this stream is attracting these type of fucking commenters.
Also want to know why It's Ma'am isn't a complete and total crock of garbage, because I remain unconvinced that it isn't a total lie, and that these people don't just pervert the language to include their own perversions and then add human flourishing at the end. Matt has said he wouldn't make a law stopping 9-year-olds from having sex with each other. Not kidding. Now, I know this is going to sound a little bit totalitarian, but I would in fact create laws that made it a crime for a 9-year-old to have sex with their 9-year-old. I would hold the parents criminally liable for allowing this to happen in my evil authoritarian society, where I don't even let 9-year-olds have sex, or the parents go straight to jail for negligence. Now, I think that's better for human flourishing. I think maybe parents would be far less likely to let their 9-year-olds do that if they went to jail. Stupid me. Next, I would, in my authoritarian society, decree that all simulated sex acts in public were criminal offenses, and would make sure that all people went to prison for the crime of indecency, which doesn't assist with human flourishing. And I'd like to know why I'm wrong.
He's basically done.
Secular humanism can basically be whatever the hell you want it to be. It doesn't really need the principle of freedom or the starting axiom of freedom and peace in order to postulate whatever it wants. It's sloganeering. They're slogans. They don't mean anything. Okay, why do 9-year-olds need to be able to have sex in order to advance humanity? Why do we need to lie about a person's sex in order to advance humanity? Why are these things necessary for human flourishing? Why are decency laws bad? Why would Christian ethics stop flourishing when the theist mandate is to reproduce, and the secular mandate is let's just all have sex and have fun, bro? That sounds way worse for human flourishing. In fact, I would say not reproducing.
I mean, I think that sounds kind of base, but what the fuck is he talking about with the 9-year-olds thing? Like, what is
So it's a reference to the debate that Matt Dillahunty did with Daniel Hickachew, where he was trying to say, yes or no, Matt, yes or no, would you make it illegal for 9-year-olds to have sex? And Matt was like, well, there's currently not a law on the books about it. I do not personally think that 9-year-olds should be having sex. I would not support that. I would condemn that as being irresponsible for the parents. But there's no law currently against it, and I wouldn't be pushing for a law to make that illegal. And so that's what he's trying to say. Oh, well, Matt just wouldn't make it illegal for 9-year-olds to have sex. Like, it's so disingenuous and so contrary to what Matt's position on it actually was. And Andrew's trying to make the point that I think it would be better for society if we put parents in jail if their 9-year-old kids had sex. It's like, yeah, so you're going to make you're basically just taking that parents away from that kid who already seems to have had negligent parents. You're going to just put them in jail? Like, that's going to be good for human flourishing? It's kind of ridiculous and self-defeating.
Right. It's like, well, first off, we tend to make laws in, Western countries based on things that are already happening now on a large enough scale to where it's a problem, where they're negatively affecting society. I don't think that, 9-year-old gangbangs are really happening that often to where it's, this person would need to pass a law in his dystopian like fantasy land. And like, again, I mean, I agree that, you wouldn't think that if you have a situation where these kids are doing that it's not better to maybe take them to some counseling so they understand what it is that they're doing and maybe it's wrong, and then they could still live with their parents and like, not be traumatized for the rest of their life. Like you can't like put it's just exactly like what you said, like that, like it's not the better option to just try and correct the behavior and keep the family together, like just arrest the parents because obviously they were negligent.
Yeah, the real reason that he's even bringing it up is just yet another personal slight at Matt, trying to make it sound like he supports 9-year-olds having sex. Like, it's just a personal attack just to get under his skin and make him mad.
Is the worst possible thing for human flourishing, because if there's no humans, how do you flourish? So I guess in essence, step 1, I remain unconvinced. Step 2, I need to be convinced, so I am no longer unconvinced. And step 3, but God not real though doesn't matter here. I've already granted it to still demonstrate just how stupid this ideology actually is. With that, I'll yield my time, and I'm happy to get into it.
Hey, James, I just sent you a message.
All right. We are going to kick it into an open discussion. So 50 minutes and let's kick it.
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to sit here and dignify the preparation that I went through and what people were here for.
You're so indignant.
Keep interrupting me.
I am.
Okay.
You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm saying?
Please, Matt. How dare someone have an opposing worldview?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world.
Yes.
With someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that. Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I?
I just want to comment on that thing he said, and also from Kentucky Atheist for $2 says, "Let's quit pretending this shit show wasn't planned." Yeah, I think that this person specifically wanted to debate Matt because of just so he could do this shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can address that for sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, just let me say something that it's not that trans people on a percentage level that's pretty much higher than any other group or in our society end up, committing suicide. It's not because people don't use their pronouns. That can be a contributing factor, but it's more often the fact that they get disowned by their parents, they're homeless, they get denied job opportunities, they are often the targets of violence, and they are often treated unfairly in the terms of, policing and just all these other factors. And yeah, I mean, when you're talking about someone not affirming your identity, I don't think they really care if like this like douchebag on the internet doesn't, but when your own friends and family and loved ones don't recognize your identity, like, yeah, that can contribute to that. And it's like criticizing people because they're a lot of trans people have killed themselves. Like, it's just so fucked up. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to like take a second to comment on that.
Yeah, and I could just comment to talking about how much this was planned. It absolutely was. I spoke with Andrew, his cameraman that we mentioned earlier. He had a cameraman in the audience, and I was talking to the cameraman the next day, and the cameraman was like, "Yeah, I needed to make sure that I was ready to follow Matt whenever he left, because I told Andrew, like, he's gonna leave, right? Like, he's gonna quit this debate. So like, they were absolutely planning this. The cameraman wanted his camera to be portable so that he could physically, like Maury Povich style, follow Matt out of the room as they were leaving. So this was all definitely planned out. Like, the cameraman knew what was going to happen. He knew that Matt was going to leave. Obviously, that this was planned for a big stunt.
Right.
Am I wrong, Matt?
Someone who misrepresents a quote from a debate where I said I wouldn't make a law about 9-year-olds having sex being legal with respect to the 9-year-olds, not that I was in any way in favor of it and that I was actually opposed to it, which I addressed during that debate. But moreover, this is not remotely an honest interaction on the front of whether or not secular humanism is valuable. Because this, when he presented his position here, has nothing to do with secular humanism. From the get-go, it's all about me. Matt thinks. I'm giving what Matt thinks. What Matt thinks. What Matt thinks. What Matt thinks.
Matt's position.
I came in with the Secular Humanist Manifesto. I came in with positions that aren't that aren't merely my position.
Oh, well, as long as multiple people hold the position,
this guy's not serious, and I'm leaving. James, if you want a refund, you
well,
let me know.
good day, sir. And I'll cover your refund, Mr.
Cool.
Matt.
He just said he'd cover my refund.
I would cover his refund.
No.
Nope.
No, I'm not going to dignify a debate with someone who walked in to trash talk people and be smug and all of the things that he's being right now. He's already said he will cover my expenses. You don't have anything to worry about. This debate is over. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Jackass.
Did you call me a jackass, Matt? Well, you and your husband have a good day, Matt. Have a wonderful day, Matt.
Okay, so that's obviously just really despicable, I think, for him to say that, like, as if Matt Dillahunty was crossing a line by calling him a jackass. Like, wait, you called me a jackass? Like,
no. So he specifies, I told you that he did like a little after stream or whatever. He specified that he made a promise to James, because James made him promise beforehand, do not do any personal insults. And he said, okay, I promise, unless Matt insults me, then all hands are off. So he was just looking for any excuse for Matt to insult him. And then as soon as he felt like he had been insulted by Matt, he had that husband comment like loaded up, ready to go.
Yeah. So it seems, very obvious that he was just, like you said, he was just ready and waiting, salivating for the chance to say that, even though he just spent like the past 20 minutes making as many like dog whistle insults against really Matt's partner, who's trans. And if you call trans people lunatics, and you say all these things about them, I mean, to me, that's still a personal attack. You know what I mean? So I would not say that Matt insulted him first. And I want to talk about James for a second, because James, is someone who's been platforming people like this for a long time. And I think it's bullshit, because, Matt is never going to go on MDD again, which I think, James would see as a major loss to his platform. And I think
Matt was
hopefully
his
now,
biggest debater on MDD. All their most viewed videos are all Matt Dillahunty.
I would hope that maybe this will like get some gears turning in his head, that maybe I shouldn't platform people like like this, somebody who calls himself a fascist, or Richard Spencer, or a host of other people, or have debates about like should trans people like have rights, should trans people like be shot out of a cannon, like maybe we shouldn't be debating something like that, because it could sort of send the wrong message that like, well, all these things are just up for debate. I mean, if somebody's debating it, then maybe they shouldn't have rights. Maybe we should load them into cannons and fire them into the sun. And I had a debate scheduled where it was a 2-on-2 debate. My partner was Science Side Up, Maddie. I forget who our debate opponents were supposed to be, but when she found out that I think before our debate happened, he brought Richard Spencer on, and then she basically said like, I'm not going to participate anymore. And so I told James, like, well, my partner she's not going to participate. So I mean, I'm going to stand with her. I'm going to support her, and I'm not going to do the debate either. And a lot of people I know, like Dr. Dan, have been saying for a long time not to support James because he doesn't pay his debaters. And if you look at the view counts on some of these videos, I mean, there are a lot of views, and there's a lot of probably ad revenue and other money coming in to that channel, and these debaters aren't getting compensated for it. And he has people on debating for like 3 hours sometimes, or I mean, Matt Dillahunty and people at the debate con, like the big debaters, are getting paid, but I don't know what the structure is for the other people or smaller debaters, you know what I mean? And people are spending money to travel to these cons and all that type of stuff. And so I just think like there needs to be like a new like channel that hosts some of these debates, because there are just too many problems with modern day debate and how James runs it. And I think this has been a long time coming, basically. So I'll get off my soapbox. But yeah, from the Kentucky Atheist, we have a super chat for $2, and it says he was dying to say that husband line. He was ready. Yeah, he was probably like jerking off the night before, like just, I can't wait to say that. Man, I'm gonna piss off so many people.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell. I mean, he was only there to stir the pot and trigger lefties, I guess. And just make people mad. I mean, that's what he was there for. He was thriving off of it. You could tell he was up there, and everybody in the whole audience was mad at this guy. And he was just up there like, yeah, he was loving it. It was like he was psychically thriving on everybody's hatred of him.
Yeah. Oh no, he's rock hard under that table right there. Yeah. Currently, he is erect. I mean, the table is probably tilting up right now because
he's probably not that big, but yeah.
I mean, we probably took a Viagra before the debate started. So I guess we're gonna look at
so yeah, there was then a Q&A portion because they had to fill time. So basically he then starts debating with the entire audience, and like a bunch of people were getting up and asking him questions. I asked him 2 questions, and my second question, at least, really got under his skin. I ended up triggering him, and we'll just let it play out, I guess. But yeah, I asked 2 questions during this debate from the audience.
I'm an Orthodox Christian.
I don't think the questions that we have from online are.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that he has recently converted to Orthodox Christianity. So he thinks that it's got the only church authority is the Orthodox Church. And so that's why it's the correct version of Christianity.
Of course.
All right, over to you.
Yeah. Do you think that Jesus Christ would be proud of your behavior tonight?
I think that anybody who values truth at all, of any kind, would not have a single dispute with what I said, which is just objective reality. Descriptive, objective. It's no different than me saying the paint's white. Like, do you think Jesus Christ would be okay with you saying the paint's white? Yeah, dude, it's just objectively true.
But if you're like a prick about it, I mean.
I started so it started as me being the prick. I didn't call anybody a jackass. I didn't personally insult Dillahunty. I didn't say a word about anything about Dillahunty related at all.
Like I feel like he actually does believe that, but it's just such a like cowardly like way of obfuscating that obviously what you were saying was done in order to try and piss him off. Like obviously.
And he knows that he was being a prick about it. He was like, "Oh, but he called me a jackass first."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we all watched your opening. We all saw that you were being a massive prick about it, literally from your very first sentence, in which you insulted the whole audience. At no point during his opening was he ever not being a prick. Like literally every sentence.
Yeah, and I just like how he's like, oh, well, he called me a jackass when it was literally like the last thing that Matt was saying to him as he's walking out of the building after watching the whole like intro, and he's like, oh, but he insulted me,
and he really just thinks that he's speaking objective truth. It's like, hey, also guess what? Jesus was supposed to have hung out with a bunch of prostitutes and sinners and people and he could have been a huge, massive prick about it, but he wasn't. He wasn't going over and said, "You're a sinner, you're going to hell." Like, he's not being a massive prick about it. Like, he seems like in the stories of the Bible, like he's chilling with these sinners. Like, he's hanging out with them, having a good time, treating them as like in a human way. And like, so that's why I thought it was good to expose his hypocrisy. Is like, you know, do you think Jesus would approve of you just being a massive dick? Like,
yeah, I mean, Jesus did flip the tables over to the money lenders. I mean, he was kind of a prick to them, but you know, Jesus, he taught to turn the other butt cheek, you know, and you know, I don't think he would be proud of this man.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus would claim this guy. Yeah, so then my second question was the one that really seemed to get under his skin, to where like he tries to deflect it with humor, but after the show I talked to him and he was not laughing on the inside. I'll just say that much. Do you have it up here?
So is the first question over?
Yes.
Okay, let me just get to this timestamp, and then I think we'll probably have a couple more comments to make before we.
Yeah, I just want to talk about my own personal experiences with Andrew after the show.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun, but I can't believe it's already been an hour. The stream has gone by very, very fast. Okay, 55. Let me see. He's just literally, he's so pleased with himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's just so smug.
Yeah. Like, you know, this man just loves the smell of his own brand, like the smell, you know, he probably bottles his own farts. Okay. Oops. 55. I'm really bad at this.
Spazzing out
55, 32. 55. Okay.
It's a lie. That is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Do you have positive relationships with your family members? Like, I'm just asking, like, do you have people that love you in your life?
I don't. It's a sad tale.
Okay. Well, then I can understand your worldview better.
It's a sad tale.
Yeah. That was about it.
Oh my gosh.
So he deflected it with humor there with a sarcastic answer, but I was genuinely asking. I wasn't just being a prick, but I did feel it was important that at least somebody was a prick back to him.
It reminds me of this YouTube video I saw where it was one of these people who goes around doing pranks to people, which involves like shoving a camera in people's face and like harassing them. And he was just at the beach, and he was just going around to different people and just like bothering them. And after a while, people were getting really agitated with this guy, and this person came over to him and was just like telling him like basically to leave, and he like wouldn't. So he grabs the guy's microphone and goes over and just throws it into the ocean. And so in order to like I guess hide the fact that obviously he would be upset about that, the prankster just starts like he like starts screaming like no, like in like a really cringy like you're in public, this is really embarrassing sort of way. But obviously he's hiding the fact that he's actually pissed off because he said it was a $600 microphone, which like I mean you could make an argument like is it wrong of the guy to do that? I thought it was hilarious, but I mean,
it was obvious that I really got under his skin with this question.
right.
And like he tried to deflect with humor, but he continues to like seethe on the inside with this. And I was genuinely curious because it sounded to me like his worldview was just like an incel, basically. Like he just sounded like he was angry at the world. He wanted to piss the world off. He wanted to say stuff that gets everybody to hate him and be angry with him because then at least they'll pay attention to him. And that's what it really sounded like to me was where he was coming from. So I was genuinely wanting to know, like, how are your relationships with your children? Like, how are your relationships with your parents? Like, I wanted to know because I'm like, at this point, maybe this is a little bit dehumanizing for me to say, but I was interested in him in the way that like Jane Goodall is interested in chimpanzees. Like, I wanted to take notes on like, why are you like this? How did you get to be this much of a prick? And I was curious about his psychology.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that it's probably fair to call this guy a bully.
That's what James did. James said that you are being a bully. Yeah, he called him out on that at least.
Yeah. So usually when people, I mean, usually you would think that people grow out of that type of behavior once they get out of like elementary school or middle school. Some people they don't, and they sort of just carry that type of animosity throughout their whole adult life. And a lot of times, you would have to think like if somebody is happy in their personal life and they're fulfilled and they don't have like this bottled up anger or some type of like animosity or aggression towards like the outside world, then they probably don't have a good relationship with their like nuclear family. Like I know, like you said, this guy's married. He has a wife who's just as bad as he is. But you have to imagine that if he has any, like hypothetically, if he has any family members who are, I don't know, gay or trans, he would have no relationship with them. He would effectively disown them. He would probably say a lot of horrible things to them, even if they were his family members. You know what I mean? And it's possible that happened. I don't know if it did, but like, and a lot of times these type of people, they have a lot of internalized anger and self-hatred, and they just take that and they just point it outwards because they don't, it hurts them less to do that than to just focus that in on themselves. It's like,
it's I was gonna say it's genuinely hard for me to comprehend, like, if he did have people in his life who did love him, it's hard for me to understand why he would behave like this. I don't understand, like, somebody who is normal and loved and has wholesome relationships with other people does not behave the way that this guy behaves. So that's why I was curious about it. I didn't know that he was married until after the fact, and I was like, who's this Andrew Wilson guy? And then I learned he calls himself BigPoppaFacist, and I learned that his wife is like just as bigoted as he is. I don't know if they have children though, but knowing his thing about birth rates, they probably do. But we'll see how that pans out for him in a few decades once his children figure out what he's actually like. And so then I went and I spoke with him the next day because literally, I mean, everybody was like, I can't believe that this guy had the balls to hang out around here after what just happened. But he was hanging around like the whole next day. So I went up to him in the hallway and was like, hey, I know that you answered my question kind of sarcastically, but I was just sort of genuinely wondering about, like, I wanted to actually know about his relationships. I was like, is that too personal of a question for you to want to talk about or what? And he just said, listen, my answer is that you're a jackass. Or he said, you're an asshole or a jackass, one of those. And he said, and I want you to get the fuck away from me. And I was like, well, it's a free country. I can stand here and talk to you if I want to. And he's like, get the fuck away from me. And I'm like, no. And he's like, every time I kept trying to talk to him, every single time, he was like, get the fuck away from me. Like, he was getting so triggered and so like emotional about it. And like, it was just so ironic given everything that had happened about, he's like, oh, you're just going to run away from the conversation. And that's literally, once I triggered him, all he wanted was to get out of that conversation. He just wanted to get away from me. Get the fuck away from me. He just shut down and wanted to run away from talking to me. It was just so ironic.
Yeah, it is interesting though how he acts towards you when there's a group of people watching versus when it's just you alone together and he doesn't have, the crowd there to sort of, his audience to and in a way it's almost it part of me thinks like that they shouldn't even have allowed this guy to have the Q&A because is really just sort of feeding into his whole ego and just like what he was even trying to do here in the first place, because in a way you have this asshole up on a pedestal, like the other debater is gone, and now everybody's just going to ask this guy questions as if he's like some important person. I mean, I know people were doing it because like they want to ask him like, what the fuck, but I don't know. Part of me is like, I feel like if it were me, if I was in James's position, I would be like, well, okay, Matt left, like the debate's over. There's no Q&A because there was no debate. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, get the fuck away from me, bro. you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, people.
But I do like the fact that you're able to ask those questions, though. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people had flown out specifically. This was like the headliner debate. People in the audience were asking for refunds at that point. So he's like, I feel like he was like, I have to give him something or whatever. So why not just have a Q&A with this bigot? Ask a bigot any question you want. So,
yeah,
and then it was so funny in his stream afterwards. He talked about how he was like afraid for like his safety. Like he was like, I wasn't sure that they were going to let me leave the room. And like, I was like, bro, like nobody was trying to step to you. Like, it was funny. Like, even when I was talking to him, he kind of like stepped back because like, it's hilarious. He claims to be 6 feet tall. He's absolutely no way 6 feet tall. Like, I'm like looking down upon him when I'm talking to him. And he's like, kind of like takes a step back from me. Like he's like physically threatened. And then, the only other interaction that I had with this guy, which I thought was hilarious, because at this point, after he's just shuts down, get the fuck away from me, get the fuck away from me. I'm just thinking it's fun to mess with this guy. So like, I was like, I had to go get something from my car. And so I was running past the front of the hotel where the debate con was. And he was standing out there. And like, I'm like running kind of in front of him. And he kind of like, I could tell he was getting uncomfortable because it looks like I'm running at him. And he's like, oh God, like, what's he gonna do? And I like run past him. And like, while I'm running, I was like, gave a little like humorous bow, like, ho, 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 ho. And like, he was just so uncomfortable with that. He talked about it on his stream where like, after I did that, he was just like, oh, just please let me get out of here. Like, let me just leave these freaky people, like these freaks. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was just messing with him because I thought it was hilarious, but he was obviously very disturbed by it and very triggered. And it's funny that I think I really did hit a nerve with that whole talking about his family and the people that love him, because he really got mad about that.
Yeah, maybe he thought you were going to like clothesline him or something.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been hilarious. I definitely did think about it, but it's not really worth catching a charge over.
Yeah, so we have a super chat from Abdullah Ahmadi. It says, too sad I missed the start. Love you both. Well, yeah, thank you to Abdullah. Thank you for the super chat and everybody else who sent super chats. I think we're going to sort of wrap the stream up here. And yeah, thank you to everybody who was in the side chat, except for P-Town and that other guy. Fuck that guy. And yeah, shout out to Big Bad Mama.
Cool. And if you like debate content, check out my channel. I've gone a little bit more than just creationists. I've spread my wings to flat earthers, climate change deniers, and I would debate this guy on something like race realism because I'm pretty sure that he's just a pseudo-scientific racist about it. So yeah, if you like debate content, check it out. Based Theory.
Yeah, I'll have your channel linked in the tagged in the title, and I'll put the link in the comments. But yeah,
Cool.
just see you guys in the next video. Peace out.